the big calls on all the big races. And yet again, another power-packed weekend for you. Group 1 action everywhere you look. Who enjoyed the Arc de Triomphe last Sunday? Loads was said about the ground, mud flying everywhere. But the mighty mare, given to you by just about every tipster on this show. Alpinista went and did the feel-good story of the year. Congratulations, Sir Mark and everyone at Heath Health. That was what it's all about. Dave Orton back with you. Somewhere in the capital. On a Friday morning we film. What a shout, in association with our sponsors Bet365. Don't forget to like and subscribe, everyone out there. That's what it's all about. Let us know your selections for the weekend below. Not just a whiff of jumpers anymore. It's starting to reek of the birch, isn't it? Because Chepstow comes back as well. We'll be looking at that for you. Who have I got on the show with us? Robbie Wilders joins us back.
Yeah, I'm back here again.
You've enjoyed quite a nice week, haven't you?
Been all right, mate. Yeah, Alpinista, long-term fancy mine, the Arc.
Do you want to tell us what price you put her up at? You've been telling everyone else on your way in.
Well, people more coming up to me, actually, mate.
OK, all right.
33 to 1.
This is a little horrible moment.
I remember one of our handicappers slagged me off a month ago saying she's got no chance, mate. I said, yeah, wait and see, pal.
And
now Johnny Pearson, he's not laughing anymore, is he?
No, this is one of our handicappers, of course.
He is, yeah.
All right, OK. Well, let's hope you didn't laugh with Robbie as well, because backed right in Pat Cooney into 7-2 favouritism. Had you laughing?
Yes, a very popular winner, both on the day of the race as well backed into favouritism, and just an all-round good result. It was a shocking day for us poor bookmakers. The Platinum Queen was terrible, as was Kinross as well. But great to see Sir Mark Prescott win, so delighted on balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether you backed it or not, don't tell me you weren't cheering. It looks like strong form as well, doesn't it? We will be pointing towards strong form for you on this week's show. Pat, you're at Newmarket, of course, 2-day header for you. You're sponsoring not just the Old Rolly Cup, but the Fillies Mile on Friday. You've got that to look forward to. And then we go to the Dewhurst as well. Massive turnover this weekend, right?
Yes, I'm in Newmarket High Street, just off the main road there. And if I look that way, I can see William Haggis's stable. That way, Sir Mark Prescott's. I went up Warren Hill Gallops this morning after my full English breakfast, so I'm fit and raring to go. Not a cloud in the sky at the moment, so do your sums on good ground. It won't be soft.
And don't worry, Newmarket trainers, we told you he was coming. That's why you got out earlier for your gallops this morning. Pat wouldn't have seen any of them. Great to see you with us. Let's have a good show, shall we? Here's what is coming up exactly for you on this Dewhurst weekend, shall we call it that? Andrew Balding joins us. Yes, the star of Horsepower. Who's seen that so far? Amazon Prime, the 4-part documentary. Getting the top word from the master of Kingsclere himself. We'll also be looking at his weekend runners. He's got some sterling chances as ever. Then we'll be giving you the big race previews. 4 from Newmarket. We'll pop to Chepstow for the Silver Trophy as well. For you Jumps fans. And then the all-important weekend winners. OK, well, yes, it's happened. The world's #1 horse racing app just got better. All you got to do is head to the App Store. You can download the update for free. Game-changing odds comparison, exclusive daily content, all the free tips from a star-studded lineup. Well, absolutely thrilled to welcome onto the show Andrew Balding, dual classic winning trainer and star of a recent series on Amazon Prime. Andrew, welcome along.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Now, ordinarily, I might have to introduce you a little bit. You know, we do have viewers, Andrew, you know, relatively new to the game. But I'd say you've become slightly more familiar in recent weeks.
Well, yeah, if you're referring to Horsepower, I think a few people have seen it now. And obviously it was a 4-part series that they, Dave, James and Equine Productions spent sort of a 6-month period with us, filming the ins and outs during that time. And obviously just been released, the edited version has been released and beautifully produced and put on Amazon Prime. So if anyone's seen it, they might know a little bit more than they did before.
Very much so. It's like horse racing has been waiting for something like this, Andrew, of course. Look, you know, we've done editorial pieces in the paper about it and the likes. I watched a bit of it last night, cramming up, of course, but I was always going to sit down and watch it. And if you're a racing fan, which most of the people watching this show we have to assume will be, it is ridiculously insightful. I mean, the great drone shots of Kingsclere, for example. But, you know, there are some emerging stars as well. Your wife, Anna Louise, of course, takes a starring role, certainly in the first episode as well. We saw Kamiko going off to the Breeders' Cup. Was it a bit like living in the Truman Show?
Yeah, it was a little bit, but we sort of got used to Dave, and he was sort of became part of the furniture, really. So you drop your guard a bit after when you get sort of series 3 and 4. I think everyone and my staff were relaxed with Dave and sort of opened up to him. So particularly the final episode, I think there's some pretty good stories in there, and you get to know a little bit more about the people who work behind the scenes. And I think from that point of view, it was hugely insightful and hopefully helpful to the industry. That's the reason we did it. For people who might not have access to a racing yard or know what happens behind the scenes, just to know how much care and attention and love for these horses goes on behind, what you might see at the races. But no, there's some great stories, and they were lucky for them, that we had a good Ascot. So it sort of made it a perfect climax to the series.
There were a lot of masks around, of course, because it was unfortunately during deep midwinter pandemic time, wasn't it? Basically, that show. The amount of masks I saw, it all looks a bit like theatrical now, but you had to endure so much with that, and we got a real insight into that as well. Yeah,
and the people turning up to work and having to have their temperatures taken, and the COVID test before we went to Royal Ascot, and the sort of half-empty racecourses, really, because they had restricted numbers, obviously, during that time, and particularly for Ascot, I think they were down to half capacity. So there's a slightly hollow feeling to the racecourses, but it was a moment in time, and that's exactly what it was like.
And of course, at the end of episode 1, we see Kamiko going over that really insightful moment where you and Dave Redvers, who's been on this show, Dave has, and that was just before Kamiko ran in the Derby, of course. Your top horse by Racing Post Races, we'll get to that in a minute. There was the decision whether to go, of course, the Kipco Champions Day and run on good to soft. Sheikh Farhad, seeing him on the phone like that and seeing that decision, you took it rather well, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, well, he pays the bills and ultimately makes the decisions. And the thing about Sheikh Farhad is he's a great student of horse racing. I mean, his opinion is worth having, and it was the right decision, I think, at the time, because actually Ascot was even softer than good to soft. So I think we don't regret that decision. It's just a shame, he couldn't get the job done in the States. Well, there we are. Okay, so look, Horsepower, Amazon Prime Video, go and see it if you've not seen it. It is honestly unmissable stuff, and well done to you and the team for doing that. We mentioned Kamiko. Let's bring up your best horses since 2003, which is, of course, when you took over the reins from your father Ian. Great racing dynasty, of course. Most people will know about that. There they are then on there. You can see headed by Kamiko, alcohol-free. A lot of more recent names, but we've got the likes of Passing Glance at Here Comes When, Mirando, Tullius right there. A Racing Post Racing of 1-2-1 as well. You've had some barnstormers through your hands. Yeah, those sort of the early days, Tullius and Side Glance, and those sort of horses were actually geldings, and they sort of were around for Buccellati as well, around for a good few seasons. So and it was in the days when usually these types of horses now we get them sold pretty quickly abroad, but for whatever reason, I think Side Glance we sold to stay in the yard, obviously. Tullius failed various vets, so he couldn't get sold, and I think Buccellati was the same, so that's why they hung around, and they were great horses to train. 123 winners up then, because it's always good to come on the show, as I said to you just before we started recording, when your last performance was a winner. Another great year, and we run these stats on something called Raceform Interactive, Andrew. It's our database of stats, you put them in, and the guys always run them for me with the guests who come on the show. And 14 Group 1 wins, 2 classics that we know, 34 Group wins as well along the way, 11 at Royal Ascot. Stop me if I'm getting boring at any point. But here's the biggest compliment I think we can give you as an operation, Andrew. And I did think this. Your strike rate never dips below, with us anyway, 10% in any month of the year. And we have always had you as an all-round performer. Yeah, well, I try not to get too worried about strike rates, because you'd end up not running your horses, and that's... so if strike rates are great, but I think they should probably have more relevance displayed as win and place strike rates, so if you're running, which we try to, sort of probably 40% win or place, that to me is more relevant than the win strike rate, because as I say, it'd be easy to not run horses and try and preserve a win strike rate, but yeah, we tried to have when I first started training, I had quite a few jumpers as well. But it's a 12-month season really. So yeah, we try and keep going the whole year round.
I remember the jumpers very much, and it's part of Kingsclere, isn't it? In fact, we've got Ranch Hand coming up, of course, who won at Exeter, I seem to remember, under Page Fuller, absolutely hosed up that day. He goes in the Cesarewitch. Before we go to this weekend's runners, Andrew, and again, another reference to horsepower, I'm afraid we're going to keep doing this. There's a moment where Anna Louise says, I hate October, because Andrew is always very stressed. It's the sales time, and here we are, coincidentally, we're in that week, aren't we? How's it been?
Yeah, well, I think she's less stressed than normal because I didn't buy too many horses on spec. I think that's what stresses her more than anything. We're suddenly buying yearlings we haven't got owners for, and suddenly the new dining room carpet or whatever it is she really wanted has got to wait another year. So she's less stressed than normal this year because I haven't overdone it on the specs.
Everything in Southampton colours, of course. There's a lovely moment as well, Andrew, in horsepower when you're at Tats, and we can see the stress there. And you were bidding for a Dubai-based client on the phone. Everyone knows the clip now. And the horse ended up going to Godolphin, didn't it, for 1.1, I think it was. It was a horse called, and I've got it here because I heard the breeding, a horse called Imperial Crown, who went to Charlie Appleby. And he made his debut a little bit later in 2021 at Kempton on the all-weather. Unfortunately, we haven't seen him since. But who had the winner of that race?
Oh, was it me? I see. If we miss out on a horse, unless they're a superstar, we stop following them. So it was probably we dodged a bullet there. It was. I remember the horse very well. But we won the race, I assume, did we?
You did. Bizarre Law it was. 20 to 1 shot. You paid 150 grand only for that one. Yeah,
well, there we go. That's you get some things right occasionally, but that's luck. I would have, if Godolphin hadn't gone one more, it probably would have been ours and an expensive mistake.
Well, there we are. And look, if you haven't seen it yet and you're going to episode 1, perhaps that's a nice little further insight for you because Andrew looks a little bit crushed when that happens. Thankfully, you came out with some absolute worldies, didn't you, of the sale? All right, let's concentrate, if you don't mind, then, on this weekend's runners, Andrew. It's a weekend, of course, you know well. And in the 150, the Zetland Stakes, you've got a really interesting character here. And I hate to tell you, because I've tipped this chap this weekend, it's Galactic Jack.
Yeah, he's a grand horse. He's a Galileo, obviously, which is a help. Haven't had many of those. And he won well last time out. Looked like he stayed well. The second's been beaten since, which is a bit of a concern. And I think this is there's any amount of unexposed horses in this race who could end up being, top class middle distance horses next year. So I think it's a very interesting race. And my feeling is that, if he was first 4, I'd be delighted.
Is he going to be first 4? Hang on a minute, I've tipped him. The horse that you beat was Mark Johnson's at Goodwood, wasn't it? And I got a feeling he found it too. I think he found that run coming too soon. It wouldn't be for me to say, but I wouldn't worry about that. I think you've got a bit of a better chance than you're letting on there, Andrew. Is he going to be next year's stayer then?
Yeah, I think he's more a sort of Queen's Vase horse. He'd be a extreme stayer rather than a Derby horse. So there could well be a Derby horse in there, though, in which case we might be a little vulnerable. I think it looks a really interesting race. I think there's any amount of 6 horses who could improve hugely and become group performers next year.
Well, they want to hear from you rather than me, of course. But at 3 o'clock, we will have some pointers from the 225, the Autumn Stakes, because the horse that Chaldean beat, of course. Who was the horse he beat in the Champagne Stakes? Who goes again in that? There are pointers everywhere, basically, but one of 2 runners for Juddmonte. They got Nostrum in there as well. You've got Chaldean, who comes. He's just done nothing but improve. I really like this lad. I was with him when he won at Newbury. I've been with him since. Soft ground last time, Andrew. Back onto a sounder surface here.
Yeah, I don't think the ground's too much of an issue for him. It was quite, it was quick enough at York when he won. He's just one of those horses who seems to be very versatile, and most good horses are in terms of the going conditions and probably trip. I mean, I think Ryan had felt when he won on him at York that the horse would be better at a mile, and Frankie felt that 7 was his trip last time. So, he's a versatile, lovely horse to train. He's so straightforward and, just an absolute dream. And we hope he's good enough, but, there's some pretty decent opposition.
I don't want to talk too much about tactics because you don't want to give too much away. But we got stalls on the stand side. There's 7 runners, and you're in 5, and you got Frankie on. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell Frankie what to do. That's for sure. He knows.
You'll be leading then.
Yeah, he's Frankie's ridden in the race more times than certainly I've had runners in it, and probably won the race more times than I've had runners in it. So we'll leave that with him. But he knows the horse from last time. And the nice thing about Chaldean is he could sit off the pace, he could make the running, he can do anything. So tactically he's pretty versatile as well.
Well, we wish you all the best with him. Another Group 1 feather potentially in the cap there. He's certainly going to be popular, and he's being backed with Bet365 as well, sponsors. At 340, from sublime distance to the ridiculous 2 mile 2, and we've got the lovable Ranch Hand in here, who's flying the flag for Kingsclear then at 340. He's a 6-year-old now, Andrew, of course. He won the listed race, which he made his comeback in 2020, didn't he? I remember that. It was a pretty good comeback run to my eye as well.
Yeah, we were pleased. I mean, he was going in there really pretty heavy in regards to his last flat racing weight. He's trimmed down a bit since then, and Will Carver couldn't claim his £3 being a listed race. So, in effect, he's £3 better in, but he's got a lot of weight to carry. It's a big distance to be carrying top weight over. But I don't know the record of high weights in the Cesarewitch particularly, but it's probably not an easy task. But he's a pretty decent horse. I mean, he won an all-weather championships. He's won, as you said, a listed race. He won a did he win a Melrose? No, he won the big handicap at Haydock. And he started favourite for the Cesarewitch as a 3-year-old, or pretty close to favourite, and was just too gassy that day. He didn't, he was probably had enough for the year. He's going in this time, obviously a lot fresher, which is a help. So, he should run a decent race. He obviously likes the track.
Yeah, all right, okay. And another favourite, certainly for us here in the studio, is Chill, who goes back up to listed company and back up to 6 furlongs as well. Now, I put her up, I think, in the Sprint Cup, Andrew, and she, I don't quite know what happened. Obviously, she finished 5th there, didn't she? Big run again under Hayley Turner that day. I thought she did maybe a bit more than Hayley might want to early doors that day.
Yeah, she was on, if she'd been drawn more towards the far side, I think it would have helped her. She had to sort of got a little bit exposed. There wasn't the pace her sort of side that there was the far side, and she'd never have beaten the winner, obviously, but she could have, repeated last year's sort of 3rd place. I would have thought if she'd been drawn differently. She's very decent. This is her last run. She's going to go to stud after this, so it would be fitting if she could win on Saturday. And she looked very good at Newmarket in the spring of last year, I think it was. So the track's not a problem, and yeah, she's been a star, and she's a Group 3 winner, Group 1 place. She'll be a fantastic addition to the King Power broodmare band.
There we are then, and I've got in my notes sitting on another biggie. So let's hope she signs off. She's been really, really great to follow, Andrew. And before we let you go then, maybe a look towards the Champions Day. We've got Coltrane, who's turned himself inside out this year, hasn't he? And really proven himself as a top-level stayer.
Yeah, and his last performance at Doncaster was probably his best performance. It's crazy because he's been on the go for such a long time. I think we were running him in February on the all-weather, and he's not really had a holiday as such since. But he looked very full of beans and determined at Doncaster last time. So hopefully we can make that last for another run at least, because on the form he's got to have a shot.
Yeah, of course. Since Royal Ascot that win, of course, we went up the fence, didn't he? And a hugely progressive horse, as we thought he might be as a 3-year-old. That's next week then. This weekend, Andrew, you've got runners at York, Chelmsford as well. Have you got one that our viewers can have a fiver on?
It's difficult. I think Chill's probably the most sort of solid in terms of that she's done it at that level, and yeah, she'd probably be the one from a betting point of view.
Personally delighted to hear that, because the project will hopefully go out on a high. Andrew, honestly, fantastic having you on. Congratulations again with Horsepower, the whole team. It was great to see them getting their moment in the sun. I'm sure you're going to have further success, hopefully this weekend at Newmarket. Thanks from everyone here at What a Shout.
No worries. Pleasure.
There we are then. Lovely to pop to Klinsky. A massively busy week for Andrew and the team. So, again, thanks to them for coming on. He's a serious operator, isn't he, Balding? The whole operate all year round. The horses seem to be running to decent strike rates. 123 winners for the year.
Yeah, very much so. He seems to have really kicked on the last 2 or 3 years, hasn't he?
Sprint Cup
now,
again.
now you're calling him very much a top 5 elite trainer, aren't you?
And horsepower, what did you make of that?
Yeah, I watched one episode, fell asleep near the end, but I enjoyed what I saw. Yeah, it was really insightful. My only one sort of, not issue with it, but I've only seen one episode that is basically based on the ball. I'd like to see more names involved.
What? Yeah. As in, like, from outside the operation?
Give us kind of a different setups and stuff.
All right, look, I'm going to give you your opinion.
I mean, what I saw, I thought the Baldens came across brilliantly.
Oh, there you go. All right, happy
I
days.
really enjoyed
Come
it.
back. All right, Pat, what did you make of horsepower?
Well, I enjoyed it. I watched the first 3 episodes. I've got 1 to go. I just thought, on balance, maybe it just came across as a little bit elitist. It's definitely a high rollers sport. And if I was, part of a group of lads in an office thinking, yeah, we should get involved in this horse racing malarkey, let's go to the sales and get ourselves one. Well, it just struck me as though that'd be too out of bounds for me, really. And funny enough, I came down to Newmarket on Thursday afternoon. I went to day 3 of the Tattersall's sales, and horses were going for $500,000, $1 million. Over the 3 days, horses were sold for 126 million. So just about the cheapest one was going for about 50 grand. And of course, that was the one no one wanted, really. So it made me think maybe that's more of a Dallas dynasty type thing rather than anything else. I didn't get the feeling this is something for me. It was just too expensive. I think maybe we could have done a follow-up one at the other end of the spectrum to saying, look, you can go to the horses in training sales. You can buy one for 20 grand. You can be 10 of you. You all put in 2 grand each and you can all have fun. I just thought it was watching like something that was out of my bounds, really. A bit like the Formula One. I'm never going to be Lewis Hamilton. I'm never going to be Max Verstappen. I can enjoy it as a spectacle, but that's the nearest I can get to it. But I was well produced and I enjoyed it. And Andrew Balding, good trainer, and a good trainer of jockeys as well, isn't he? He's got a real who's who of jockeys he's had there.
Yeah, of course, if you watch the first episode, it's all about that first title race between the 2 Kingsclere apprentices, Oisin and William Buick as well. They've had some incredible jockeys through their ranks as well. Well, let's hope you enjoyed that and certainly pinpointed you the way of some of his top chances coming this weekend, which brings us on to the race previews. OK, 150 at Newmarket kicks off a really good card there. It's the Dewhurst, isn't it? Of course, the Cesarewitch, the Stayers, the real sort of staying palace final, this, isn't it? Absolutely very much. But Pat, the Zetland Stakes, again, mile 2 for 2-year-olds. It used to be something of a slog, this. They used to run it in a war of attrition. In more recent years, we see some classy sorts coming. And we've got a favourite on a recovery mission.
Absolutely, yeah. And a few years ago, Kew Gardens won this, and he went on to win a St. Ledger. So that's the type of standard the race normally attracts. Flying on as we go back 14 days, and we were all saying, look, he's 3-1 on for his race at Newmarket. He ought to win, and we ought to be giving him Derby and Ledger quotes. Well, he finished 3rd of 4. It was a messy race, a muddling gallop. And it was just one of those things where, it just didn't work out for him. There's 8 opponents this time around for him, so he's probably going to get a stronger run race. He's priced up as though that last run didn't happen, and he's round about a 6-5 favourite at the moment. Unfortunately, though, for his backers, it did happen. So you've got work to prove, really, to overcome that run. I think the trip will be fine for him. But 6-5, you're backing the horse who got beat at 2-7 last time out. Don't know. I think because there's 9 runners, there's each-way alternatives in the race. I'm looking at Blanchelander, Jane Chapel-Hyam, who's doing ever so well this season. And this is a progressive type, won on the Newcastle all-weather last time out, and stayed on strong over the mile last time out. I'd rather be sniffing around for each-way angles than backing this favourite round about 6-5.
Charlie Appleby won the race last year with a horse called Gold Spur, and he was thought to be a stayer in the making. We've only unfortunately seen him once this year. Flying Honours then, was a bit of a Mickey Mouse race last time, wasn't it?
I think he's a woeful price, yeah.
Extra 2 furlongs is going to suit, but I agree, at the price, you've got to have a lot of faith in that Salisbury run.
5-4? I don't really understand that.
So one to take on. Now, I'm glad that you've struck up some form. If you're ever going to strike up form, now's the time to do it. Because we are agreeing, I've just seen your selections, 3 of the 4 tips that I've just seen, we're in agreement with. And we kick off here.
And we don't liaise beforehand.
We don't. I can't think of anything worse than spending more time with you.
Come on, we get on, don't we?
Well, yeah.
Right.
Galactic Jack.
Yeah. He's the only horse in the field with proven form over a mile 2. And, this is a real unique test for juveniles. Our good friend Andrew Balding.
Aha.
Love the pedigree. Out of an Irish Oak second, he's by Galileo. He's obviously gonna be a proper middle distance stayer when he's 3, and he's about 9-1. I could see that getting much shorter. And the makeup of the race, 9 runners, suggests there's quite a good shape to it for each way betting, considering we don't really like the favourites, so there's lots to like.
I'm absolutely with you all the way. I think this is one race that Andrew Balding will have on his CV. I think, around about 9-1, Pat, isn't he, with you guys?
He is, yeah, and I see wisdom in that. I think, as I say, the each-way angle is going to be far more popular here than backing the favourite at this price.
OK, right, so we go for the Zetland Stakes, future... Well, look, you're going to see a Derby candidate coming out of it. Probably something more like the St Ledger, dare I say, out of Queen's Vales, or something like that at Royal Ascot. But we go to what might be considered a slightly classier race now, Pat. 2:25, it's the Group 3 Autumn Stakes. We've seen Guineas winners coming out of this in the last 10 years.
Yeah, and there's a bit of an anti-Charlie Appleby theme, really, because we're all against sort of flying honours at his price because he was beaten at odds on last time. Well, guess what? The favourite for this race is Silver Knot, trained by Charlie Appleby. Got beat at odds on last time out. Would you believe he finished last of 3? That was on good to soft, no good to him. It won't be good to soft tomorrow. He's got better ground tomorrow, but he does have a £3 penalty to give away. So this is one of these flaky-looking favourites in the market at the moment. There's an interesting runner, Epictetus of the Gosdens with Frankie Dettori back in town. That went well on its debut, sure to go well. The solid option for me is the Holloway Boy, Carl Burke and Clifford Lee. Officially, probably just about the top rated in the second to Nostrum, who may well win the Dewhurst later on the card over 7. He was keeping on well that day. The step up to 8 would suit him. Again, Silver Knot, again, a bit of a leap of faith. You're basing his defeat on the ground last time. It was last of 3. Plus a £3 penalty, would make me look elsewhere in this race.
2 Godolphin favourites so far we're going to be covering. 2 vulnerable jollies.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with him at Doncaster. I know it was soft ground, it's going to be quicker this time, but he's also got the £3 penalty. Epictetus might end up being the best horse.
Very tricky pronunciation. You've both nailed it so far.
Yeah, I don't know what it means, actually. That's worth a Google. I'll Google, please, if you're watching, Google.
Yeah, let us know what that is
but
below.
I don't like backing horses in group races after one run.
No, this year
will.
It's been a road to the poorhouse for a horrible phrase.
I think it is most years, to be honest, mate.
Okay.
An exact date to back that up, but that's my gut feeling. Holloway Boy. I believe he had a little hold-up before Newmarket.
The Chesham winner.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously done very well to win that on his debut. That's not worked out brilliantly, that form, although Crypto Force came out and looked pretty good in the Baddesley.
Yeah, he did.
But, I really like this horse, and the fact that I like, without giving spoilers, I like Nostrum later on in the Dewhurst, and that form aligns with Holloway Boy in the Tattersall Stakes last time. So there's a possible double opportunity there, really, because if Holloway Boy wins, the money is going to come from Nostrum, isn't it?
Oh, exactly the same with Silver Knot for Chaldean, of course.
Yeah, exactly. These related contingency form lines, I'm always trying to look to exploit them, and I think this could be quite a good one, possibly.
Epictetus.
Yeah.
Very good time when he won on the July course, and it's traditionally a strong maiden.
And that's a big RPR, 101 for a debutant, but
massive.
But still, is he going to be ready?
He's from that team, isn't he? Strawbridge, Gosden, Dettori. One time.
Yeah, great pedigree as well.
I think he will go off favourite here.
Kingman's got a lot of good youngsters coming through, actually.
Oh, yeah. But I'm with you again.
Go off favourite.
The boy.
Please.
The boy from Holloway. I was with Nostrum last time, and I thought, like a lot of people were, and we'll get to him after this. Could he be the next big thing? I thought I was in trouble going into the dip. And Holloway Boy had him at one point. You know, if you were looking at in exchange land, he would have gone really low. Because he cruises in.
Yeah, he did travel well, yeah.
He did that at Goodwood as well. He looked a big danger and didn't quite see it out. This is probably easier. You know, the 2 horses that he might have come up against. Nostrum now going to be favourite for the Dewhurst. Yeah. I think he'll be advertising that form. I wondered whether it was the dip at Newmarket, but I think he handled it all right. I just think he's bumped into one.
Yeah. I completely agree with that.
Carl Burt there. Interesting runner for Exoplanet for Roger Ver and David Egan as well. Watch out for some love for him coming in a little bit later
Also, keep an eye on Dancing Magic. If he runs well, then that's a big compliment to Naval Power in the Dewhurst.
So
there's all of these form lines. We're going to learn a lot after these 2 races.
Well, let's hope they learn who's going to win it after Pat gives us a market update for the Dewhurst.
Well, as things stand at the moment, Nostrum is 11-8 favourite, Naval Power 7-2, Chaldean 4. And as we say, the key to how the market is going to go is what happens in the race before at 2:25. Were Holloway Boy to win? Of course, he was second to Nostrum. Nostrum was shorten up even more. So there's a lot of activity for the form book people within the 30 minutes between the races. Nostrum, he looks the part, doesn't he? And I think he's got that aura. He's a Sir Michael Stout horse, so we know he's going to get better and better and better. 11 away, I think he's a worthy favourite for this race. He has looked particularly good. It's not often one of Stouty's wins first time out, but he won in real good fashion. Of course, I like to Chaldean. I'm marking him down as the probable front runner in the race, so he might just get an uncontested lead. And with Frankie Dettori aboard, that could be dangerous. Where's the value? I thought maybe Aesop's Fables of Aidan O'Brien with Ryan Moore aboard. He got beat on soft ground last time over this 7. He's a no-nay never. You would imagine as a juvenile, 7 furlongs would be as far as they want to go at this stage of their career. Well, he disappointed on good to soft over the 7 last time out. It is 7 on Saturday, but it'll be on better ground. And it's that classic, if he hadn't a run last time out, what price would he be? Well, he'd be half the price. So if there is value in the race, I'm looking at Aesop's Fables, trained by Aidan O'Brien.
There's 3 in here that are coming in with the one. What have they got left in the locker next to their name? There's Chaldean, who I think we have to agree sets the standard so far on
Just
the
about.
Doncaster one.
What-
Just
what-
about.
what-
Wait,
no, continue, please.
don't jump into quite yet. Don't do
No,
a
it's a bit
Dave
rude
Orton
of me.
just yet. And then what Pat said, he's right. You've got Aesop's Fables, you've got Royal Scotsman, who if he hadn't run last time at York, he'd be half the price he is. I can't believe he's 25 to 1. The fact he is, one of certainly our early season top 2-year-olds. And Marbarn as well, who hated the ground at Leopardstown for Charlie Fellows, and he's been backed. Just coming back to you, Pat, I've looked at the market again this morning. Looked, last night and all that. Looks like Chaldean's a bit of a buzzer, and Marbarn too.
Yeah, Marban, as you touched on, he looked a progressive type. He went over to Ireland to run last time out, and the ground just turned against him. Again, he had that progressive profile before going to Ireland. It didn't happen for him. Just draw a line through it. We're unlucky as punters, aren't we? It's not the dead 8 in this race because the each-way angle would have been really, really good. So you do look at it, you can make a plausible case out for them already. Isaac Shelby's another one, 2 runs, 2 wins.
Yeah.
When he won at the July meeting at Newmarket, he beat Victory Dance of Godolphin, who was very well touted, and he battled on well to beat him. He's officially the worst horse in the race. That tells you how good this race is. So, yeah, it's a real deep race. So it's hard to say Nostrum's value at his price, but he's going to be very, very popular, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you, Pat. Isaac Shelby is a horse. I think he's a really, really good horse, and we don't quite know how good he is. I expect Nostrum to crown himself the top 2-year-old here, don't you?
Yeah, I do as well. I do agree. He's probably a bit short, isn't he?
I won't be getting heavily involved. I don't think.
It's one of those where, as well, something to bear in mind is, do you remember in 2017, Stout and Abdullah had expert eye completely full. I think this horse is a bit less complicated.
We spoke to Teddy Grimthorpe about that, who was Prince Colin Abdullah's racing manager at the time, and they could not believe he got beaten. So the fact that they've got 2 here, it's interesting, isn't it, Judd?
It is. My problem with Chaldean is he's beaten the same horse twice. I think we still need. I know he's the highest rated now.
But Pat's right. He might lead under Frankie, mightn't he? And that's not a bad thing on the rolling mile when the stand side of the stalls.
Yeah,
so.
true. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out. I was looking at there's quite a lot of central pace here.
This is a tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah,
but
it's a really hard race. But I fancy Nostrum. I was just so impressed with him in the Tattersall.
We all want to romanticise about Nostrum, I think, and Sir Michael
He's
going into the winter with a
start.
Guineas
I want
favourite.
someone to serve up to Little Big Bet, to be honest, because he's by far clear at the moment.
Well, whether they meet or not ever in the future, I don't know. Aesop's Fables is fascinating. Right, we found it a bit tough. What do you think wins the Dewhurst? Let us know below. Can't wait to read your selections there. We go from the sublime to the ridiculous distance-wise, Pat. It's only over 2 mile 2. It is, of course, the Cesarewitch. It's a barnstormer. And you've got 2 pretty short ones at the top of the market.
Yeah, and it looks like we're down to just 22 runners now. Rock Eagle is a non-runner. So a 22-runner Cesarewitch. Now, what that does is take out the draw equation. Normally, we're agonising how bad a horse is drawn because of the nature of the track. But I don't think we have to worry about the draw this time around. That makes it easier. But you're right. There's 2 horses at the top of the market. A horse with no name, a 7-year-old, and Run for Oscar, a 7-year-old. 7-year-olds have a good record in this race. The stats gurus in the office are all over that, and they also over the fact that they're trained by people who are predominantly jumps trainers. They have an excellent record in it. So you've got Nicky Henderson with a horse, and with Oscar, you've got the mighty Charles Burns. They seem to me to be miserable prices, though, just from a form book angle. A horse with no name has gone up £10, I think, since winning last time out. So that's no bargain, is it? And when Run for Oscar won at Haydock, went up £8 for that race. Now, I know Charles Burns wouldn't have been unhappy about that because he wanted to make sure Run for Oscar was going to get in this Cesarewitch Newmarket. And he went up 8 and he would have got in comfortably, but he wouldn't have known that at the time. So form book wise, they're no bargains, are they? And it's just a fascinating market. I thought you have to respect Willie Mullins in this race. He's coming over with a couple in the race. Baby Zeus. Look at the jockey bookings. Will Buick, Gibraltar, Safi Osborne. And I would imagine putting 2 and 2 together, it often comes up with 5. Scaramanga may well be his main runner because he's booked Jason Watson for that. And Jason Watson has ridden 2 of his most recent Cesarewitch winners. So that makes me think he booked Jason Watson on the basis Scaramanga was his one. They'll probably all shorten up in the market. I ended up fancying Evaluation of Keith Dalglish, Graham Leopold. He's well used to riding over 2 miles and 2 furlongs, isn't he? So Evaluation, rock solid, travels well. I thought it would stay, and I thought it's sure to be in the frame. The front 2, they don't look bargains at all at their prices to me.
Yeah, of course, Evaluation is out of estimate. Her Majesty's, the late Queen Elizabeth's Gold Cup winner. And I came down on him as well. I thought Sandown last time, he was chasing that Sunday Series final. And he went clear like a very well handicapped horse and then just got done for toe at the end of mile 6. I think he'll stay, and he looks solid to me. Pat's right. Jumps trainers usually winners. I mean, Philip Hobbs has won this with Big Easy. Great scenes. About, 10 years ago or so now. You could pick 3 or 4 in this. I'm asking you for one.
Yeah, it's Mullins. Like, the amount of... He is the man to follow in these big flat staying handicaps. I mean, in the last 5 years, he's had 3 winners in the Cesarewitch, 2 seconds and a third. Like, the amount of horses he would have had to fire at this, and he's come down on this 3. And they're all quite well drawn, really, considering the recent winners have all really been drawn high, mainly.
Yes, you historically, if you don't know, you need to be high according to the paper. I remember Frankie won it on a Brian Meehan horse. Oh my goodness me, what was it called? I think I can find it. Bear with me, guys. Aim to Prosper in 2012. Watch that back in your members club. He does what Frankie is now coined to do. He keeps all the way wide and then he joins. For whatever reason, you want to be high because it can get really rough. You want a fair early position as well. Yeah. And you need to be near that far rail, so high numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, Baby Zeus is sort of widest of all.
I mean, Will Buick's on this one, right?
Yeah, exactly. He does tend to put Buick on a lot of his fancy ones, and indeed Jason Watson. But I mean, I thought the 2 at the top of the betting were a little bit short. I think the money is going to come for one Mullins horse. That is probably guaranteed, but we don't know which one yet. I think Baby Zeus is interesting that he's also a brother to Lagos to Vegas, who he won the Ascot Stakes with a few years ago.
Used to be trained by Joe Lyons and went to him for a hurdling career, I think. He hasn't quite gone there yet, but also
but he's not run over this trip before. Yeah. There is some pretty decent back form there. I think it could be better than we see. Scaramanga's interesting first start for Paul Nicholls. I mean, Mullins has improved horses that he's taken from Nicholls in the past. Yeah. Stormy Island, he sort of got her back. Yeah. And Gibraltar's also interesting. He was quite a highly regarded juvenile last year.
Do you like this race? Because you don't like sprints, do you? So I'm assuming this is right up Wilders Street.
I handicap the stayers, mate, don't I?
Oh, yeah, right, OK.
Yeah, we'll be putting a figure on this, me and Rodders later.
All right, OK.
I like this race, yeah. Definitely way prefer a race like this than a 5 furlong sprint, for sure.
You get the fact that the Charles Burns factors come in for Run for Oscar, but they obviously mean business with David Egan booked. And a horse with no name, I was at York with Rodway and Ross Brydon, a couple of others, and we stayed around to watch this win, the final race of the day, and Ryan Moore was on, and you have to assume Ryan got off and went, just put this away for the Cesarewitch. Yeah. She's a mare, isn't she, of course? Not from 6 over hurdles.
Second in the mare's novices hurdle.
She's going to be well handicapped over hurdles, I think. All right, OK. Talking of which, there are your selections for the Cesarewitch. It's Silver Trophy Day. I think we can say that, Pat Cooney, of course. It doesn't get any terrestrial love, this meeting at Chepstow, but for the Jumps fans, it will have them salivating.
Yes, and it's good to see Chepstow back, isn't it? And this is a tricky race. There's 10 runners as we speak. The market leader is Nappers Hill, who won the Aintree Bumper a couple of seasons ago. On the face of it, I was expecting more from him in his first season over hurdles last year, but he kept some good company, and he ended up the season getting his confidence back with a couple of decent hurdle wins. Interesting, he's staying hurdling as we speak for this, so he's going to be popular in the market. But this is a deep old race. We're still up in the air with how fit these horses all are. It's a good prize, though, so I'd imagine a lot of these have been mapped out to kick off with this race. My eye is drawn to number 4, Master's Legacy, trained by Philip Hobbs. Now, this fella, he won at this particular meeting a year ago off 132, and guess what? He's off 132 again on Saturday. It's his first run since a wind-up. He might just be best fresh. That sounds good to me because he hasn't run for 200 days. In a race where you're probably more negative than positive about horses, Master's Legacy, I think around about his 7-1 has a lot to recommend him.
I like him. He's a horse that's done me a few favours over the years, and I looked at the fresh angle, Pat, and I looked at the course angle. And of course, this has probably been the plan, hasn't he? He has had his problems. It was back first, I think. I think they thought he was going to be a right old novice. He could still have a bit of juice in his handicap mark. We've got a best RPI of 139 for him. He's on 132, and he's with the Master Hobbs, isn't he? So there probably is a bit more to come. Like him, but... I thought I might have found one here.
Oh, have you?
Because I
do as well, mate.
Have you?
Yeah.
We're going to lord it, aren't we?
Why don't you go first?
We're lording it up.
Oh, no.
Here we are.
Here we are.
So we've got the double penalty on Lord Baddesley.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
1 and 2 for Chris Gordon. No, I'll let you take it away, please.
Chris Gordon, mate. 4 winners from his last 7 runners for a start. That's a positive. I mean, this horse, he was a bit of an eye-catcher in the Betfair Hurdle last year, wasn't he? I seem to remember.
Yes.
Made up quite a lot of late ground.
He hasn't shown it yet. Obviously, he arrives with some slight mildly alarming form figures, but on his best, he's bang there, isn't he?
Let's talk about why he does. I mean, one of those was on soft ground. I don't think he wants it soft. And the second one, he fell when he was moving quite well into the race.
You're trying to hope I envisaged a racecourse when you were
I'm just trying to... I like to talk my hands. Now I'm coming out of my shell a bit.
At least we know.
He's off the same mark as the Betfair Hurdle. And his record after breaks as well is pretty good.
That's the thing.
He's won twice after really long breaks over 150 days.
Yeah.
So, and he's about 8 to 1. So
he would have won if he hadn't have fallen at Plumpton when signing off, I think, when he was cruising.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's off 123, 7 years old, informed stable.
Tom Cannon.
So much to like.
Off the back of a seasonal best effort, of course.
Yeah.
Love a bit of Tom
Let's
Cannon.
lord it over him, shall we?
Yeah, all right, we're lording it then. There you go. 5 race previews, and yes, the jumps, it's coming back. A little nod to our big jump off. We will be giving you the best pull-out known to man, jumps fans, once again. It was hugely popular. Comes out on October the 17th. I've even done a division in it. Have you done anything in it?
I have contributed quite a lot to this.
And Pat's contributed it because Bet365, you've decided to sponsor it, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. Get busy with the jumps. Yeah, don't forget the Charlie Hall at Wetherby at the end of the month as well. So we've got to put our jump hats on sooner or later, haven't we?
Absolutely. Once again, all the trainers thinking, I'm definitely not going to Wetherby. If Cooney's going to be there, 101 Cooney, we're calling him now. Let's hope you enjoyed that. We certainly did. Nap time this weekend. Will it be over the sticks? Will it be on the flat? I'm going to stick in the Autumn Stakes. I think Holloway Boy just wins the 225, the Autumn Stakes. I think he will sign off with a 1-2-2-1 form figure line.
And Board, I hope you're right. The nap for Robbie Wilders is a 4:37 Chepstow St. Segal. Why are you speaking in the third person, mate? Cocky. Do you remember St. Segal?
Who's speaking in the third person?
I did.
No.
Do you talk to yourself as well? Let's move on. St. Segal, highly rated 4-year-old last year. Second to Portocello, wasn't it, in the Grade 1 juvenile Chepstow. Now Grade 2, actually, maybe controversially. But really liked him at Cheltenham in the Fred Winter, but he was just way too keen. He's coming back now.
Who trains it?
Jane Williams. Sorry,
yes,
I do know.
Okay, yeah.
Remember?
Okay. I know. I do remember him now.
Second in the Grade 1 on his second start. But he's too keen in the Fred Winter. He had travelled really well in that Fred Winter kick. It's the Boodles, isn't it?
It's the Boodles. Well, it's the Fred Winter Boodles.
He's had wind surgery since. I know that. Well, according to James Stevens, they're expecting very big things from him this season.
Okay.
And he's off 125 in a pretty decent 4-year-old race. But, I mean, I thought he was well handicapped off 126 at Cheltenham, and this is a weaker race. He's off 125. Had the wind surgery. Let's have it.
Yeah, I think Jane can get them ready as well, can't she? Okay,
yep.
From memory. And again, guys out there, you're going to have to all of a sudden switch your heads, aren't you, to different form books. All right, so we've got a solid group performer. We've got an unexposed hurdler, Pat Cooney.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the lucky last at Newmarket, the 520 Royal Fleet of Charlie Appleby, William Buick. This horse did quite well in Maidan in February. Then he disappeared and he came out and won at Goodwood 17 days ago on softish ground. He'll be better on the better ground today. He wouldn't have to improve too much on official ratings either anyway, but he's bound to, isn't he? And he looks like he's going to have a good autumn campaign, and I think he'll win the lucky last at headquarters tomorrow.
Great stuff. Thank you, Pat. All right, then, there you go. A treble, a Trixie, whatever you call them. They're our best hopes this weekend. Well, sadly, that's all we've got time for here on this weekend's What a Shout. It's been great fun. Been great to have Robbie back.
Oh, it's been so good to see you,
another 33 to 1 when it's
going to be hard, isn't it? But we'll always try.
Yeah.
And there's some good stuff to get stuck into, mate. So.
And when you've got 22 runners or 21, whatever it now is in the Cesarewitch, just go for Mullins.
Absolutely, yeah. Look at his record.
Mullins will be it. No, I think I'll have a few quid on that as well. Pat, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the fair that is the Old Rolling Mile.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a very informative couple of days at Newmarket, isn't it? So we should be seeing top-class juveniles come out, competitive handicaps as well. And welcome back to the Hedgehoppers fans in the game, because Chepstow's a good card as well. So all systems go.
Brilliant. And 101 Cooney, as we're now going to be calling him, will be joining us for Champions Day next weekend. Very special guest lined up for that. Cannot wait. Great to have you joining us as well. Don't forget to gamble responsibly this weekend. That's our MO here at Racing Post. And, of course, our sponsors, Bet365. Don't forget, it has just got better. That Racing Post app, you can download it on the App Store or the Google Play Store itself. So, for myself, Dave Orton, all the sport out there, enjoy it.